What's going on, guys? Billy here, and today we're going to be going over how to launch and land the Skydio 2 from your hand, because it's a little bit different and a little bit more involved than other drones where you just stick your arm out, prime the motors using the remote, and then take off and up. The thing that makes it different is the software as well as the design. Now, a conventional drone has 4 propellers on the top of the drone that face in the same direction, but the Skydio 2, on the other hand, has a set of inverted propellers on the front that are mounted underneath on the underside of the drone. And when you're taking off or landing using your hand, you can believe that this might cause some issues. Fear not, Skydio has put some thought into this and has built safety features into the drone software to make sure that you don't hurt yourself. Now, I know that safety is something that always comes up when we begin talking about hand launching and hand landing a drone of any size, because those propellers really can tear up your skin. Trust me, I'm speaking from experience here. But this drone was designed to do just that. It was designed to take off from your hand and land in your hand. So without any further ado, let's get into the video. Now, let's first cover all of the different ways to take off and land the Skydio 2. The first is right on the remote controller with the center button marked by 2 arrows pointing up and down. Holding this will engage the drone to take off or land if it's already in the air. The second is right within the companion application. So in the top right corner, there's a circle icon that we hold to launch the drone, and when it's in the air, the same circle button turns into a land button, so holding it will cause the drone to obviously land. Now, if you instead are using the beacon, you can launch the drone by holding the middle blue Skydio button, and then you can land the drone by holding the red square button at the bottom. Now, getting back to the design of this drone, the way that the battery fits into the bottom gives it a secondary purpose, almost as like a small handle. You cradle the battery in your hand, use any one of these launching methods that we just covered, and then watch as the drone flies up and away from your hand. Rather than just go straight up, the drone actually has a predetermined action built into the software that puts the drone up in the air right in front of you, which I think is pretty badass and really effective. Now, because of this, the drone needs to be facing away from you, so the camera needs to be facing away from your body. The Skydio actually won't allow you to take off with the camera facing you. It gives you an error message in the companion app, and even on the beacon, it'll tell you to position the drone differently. It's pretty cool that it can detect something like this, and like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, the design of the 2 inverted propellers is a non-issue when it comes to safety, as the software prevents you from even taking off if they are pointed towards your face. Now, I just want to jump in here and share a quick tip with you guys that I learned from my time speaking with the Skydio team. If you guys are going to have this drone tracking you in any fashion, it's actually the preferred method to hand launch the drone. So let's say I'm using the beacon and I want this drone to follow after me. It actually gives the drone a better chance at initially finding the subject if you hand launch the drone. And this actually makes sense because the drone goes through that action of lifting up, taking off, and spinning around, and chances are when it spins around, the subject that is looking directly at is going to be the one that you want it to track. So I found in my tests, every single time that I hand launch the drone, it has a much easier time, I guess, at acquiring its tracking subject almost immediately. It is so much faster. You may have seen my gripes in some of my older tracking videos where the drone takes off and it sort of looks around for its subject, because if you take off from the ground, it doesn't know which way it's facing. It doesn't know which way that subject is, so it takes a little bit of time to actually find the subject that you want it to track. That's why you want to make sure that you always hand launch this drone when you want it to track you, so it doesn't have to play that guessing game. Unfortunately, the takeoff sequence is the coolest part of this video, as when you land the drone, it doesn't really do anything else other than point the camera straight down and decrease its altitude. It doesn't have any fancy tricks where it finds your hand, spins around, and then fits into your palm. But my recommendation for landing this drone with your hand would be to make sure that those front underslung propellers are facing away from you when the drone comes down. Hand landing is actually my preferred method of landing this drone, because I've noticed that when the drone comes down, it can be a little bit rough at times. Like, it hits the ground with some force and it can sort of bobble around because the only point of contact is through the battery. It's not spread out amongst all the arms like some of the other drones that we're used to. So guys, that about wraps up this video regarding hand launching and hand landing the Skydio 2. This thing is incredibly smart. It knows when it's facing you, so it wants you to turn it around and then take off. It also knows when it's actually being held in your hand, so it does that takeoff sequence. Whereas if you take off on the ground, the drone just lifts up and off like usual, which is really cool. And the reason I'm even making this video, because hand launching and hand landing is pretty straightforward, is because when I originally started flying this drone, like the very first time I took it out, I couldn't find out how to hand launch the drone for the life of me. If you've actually tried to take this off in a confined space, or if you've tried to take it off with the drone pointing towards you, you, it'll tell you, or it'll give you the error that says that the takeoff area is not clear, and it's really cool that it uses those obstacle avoidance sensors to determine that. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll talk to you later. Peace.